All right, today we're going to talk about the first text after the no contact rule. Basically, what text messages are good to send to an ex, what they respond to, so on and so forth. And I thought maybe a really cool way of tackling this problem is by looking at real life scenarios based on our coaching clients in our private Facebook support group who've actually used successful first contact text messages after the no contact rule. Now, I think it's important to start off by actually looking at what a no contact rule is and why it is actually such an important strategy slash tactic to complete before you consider even texting your ex first or even responding to any of their text messages. So what is a no contact rule? Well, simply put, the no contact rule refers to a period of time where you cut off all conceivable communication with an ex after a breakup. Now, the intent of this tactic should not be used to make your ex miss you, but instead should be used to rebuild your own life so that you outgrow your ex. By doing this, the no contact rule can have the added benefit of making an ex miss you. Now, it is super important for you to complete a no contact rule before you even consider texting an ex. So before we get into the actual fun stuff of texting an ex, I'd first like to talk about why it's so important for you to complete a no contact rule. Now, we have designed our program around a no contact rule. Now, it shocks me even to this day why people are not okay with the no contact rule, but after trying to hear their side of the argument, I think I understand why they have a problem with it. Most people view the no contact rule as this manipulative strategy that you're using to psychologically make your ex miss you and try to react to try to get you back. But the way we try to approach the no contact rule is not so much about your ex, but more about you and the internal change and the philosophical change that you're going to go through during it. Most of the time, the text messages that we're going to be talking about have been done only after people have had these internal shifts, these philosophical shifts. Now, what is this philosophical shift that I'm talking about? Well, simply put, it's in the definition I just gave of the no contact rule. You get to a place emotionally where you are willing to outgrow your ex. I'm always saying that if you want to get the guy, you have to be willing to lose the guy, right? Well, this is what we're talking about. You have to get to a place emotionally where you are okay with failing. It doesn't bother you as much as it maybe once would have. And the only way you can usually do that is by cutting off all conceivable communication with an ex. You also do have the added benefit of it being kind of a reverse psychology tactic. But more than anything, we're noticing that the people who tend to have success in actually achieving what they're trying to do with regards to getting over an ex or even getting an ex back go through this process emotionally where they have outgrown their ex. So before you even consider texting an ex after no contact, outgrow your ex during no contact. This leads us to the next big question, which is, should you reach out to your ex first? Should you wait till your ex reaches out to you first? And this is where I'm going to say something controversial that women won't like. Now, we have had both men and women come through our coaching practices. We've had a lot more women because women tend to be online searching for these types of questions or these type of problems more than men, but the same advice applies to men as it does to women. And here is the advice, the controversial thing I'm going to say. I don't care who reaches out to who first after a no contact rule is complete. If your ex has not reached out to you, don't worry about it. You're going to reach out to them pretty much no matter what. Now, what is the thinking behind this? Well, last year we ran a study in our private Facebook support group, which now has over 6,200 members. We asked them one simple question. How often during a no contact rule did your ex actually reach out to you? And 66 or 64, I can't remember off the top of my head, but a huge amount, over 60% of people replied that their ex literally had not contacted them once during the no contact rule. And time, weirdly enough, does matter in circumstances like these. There is such a thing as letting enough time go by so that your ex is just kind of getting over you. This is why we don't think it's worth the risk for you to just sit on your butt and wait for them to text you You should take the reins and take control and text them first. And now we get to the fun part, which is actually looking at real life text messages that actually worked after the no contact rule to get a positive response from an ex. Real quick, I want to say that if you're new to this YouTube channel or you're trying to figure out what you should be doing to get your ex back and you're trying to learn if you even have a chance in your specific circumstance, probably the smartest thing for you to do is actually stop by our website, www.exboyfriendrecovery.com, or take our Ex Recovery Chances quiz that can be found at exboyfriendrecovery.com. Now, if you're watching this on YouTube, taking that free quiz is super easy to do. All you have to simply do is look in the description link below this YouTube video and click on the link you see there. It will take you directly to the quiz where you can fill it out and get an easy answer on what you should be doing going forward and overall what your chances look like in your specific situation. All right, so let's get you back to the video. Now, one of the cool elements of our Facebook group is we have some albums in there. And the albums are looking at successful first contact text messages after a no contact rule. Basically, people who sent a text message to an ex and got a positive response is filed away in this album. So what I'm going to be doing in this video is actually talking about the elements that are present in a successful first contact text message and then looking at each of the elements in a real life text message sent by our clients. So here are the 4 most important elements that you need to think about when you're going to send a text to your ex after no contact. Element 1 is pattern interrupts. Element 2, curiosity. Element 3, damsel in distress. And element 4, interest-based. Now let's tackle our very first element, which is a pattern interrupt. So what is an example of a pattern interrupt? Well, one of our favorite text messages that sort of exhibited this was, "You literally won't believe what I just saw." To which the ex responded, "What?" To which our client sent a picture of a donut place, grand opening. To which the ex responds, "Laugh out loud, I love it. How much business do you think they're getting just because of the name?" "They'd get me," laugh out loud. So why does this work? Why did this get an immediate response from an ex? Well, the pattern interrupt aspect of this text message is pretty obvious. You haven't talked to your ex in over a month through the no contact rule. And then all of a sudden he gets or she gets this text saying, "You literally won't believe what I just saw." Now, what you're gonna find is kind of a commonality that's occurring in these text messages isn't so much that it's one of these elements, but each of these text messages contains multiple elements that we're going to be talking about. This obviously really does well with the pattern interrupt aspect. All of a sudden, your ex's day is interrupted as he gets this text. But of course, there's an embedded element of curiosity there. "You literally won't believe what I just saw." What? Your ex becomes curious and needs to know. And the donut place, or the donut place, is literally an interest-based text also. It kind of refers to an inside joke apparently that the two of them had, and it worked really well. So this is why we think this type of a text message worked. It had an extremely strong pattern interrupt, but it also embedded other elements that we're going to be talking about very shortly. Element 2, curiosity. So a great example of a curiosity text is, "So, have you heard the news?" To which the ex responds, question mark, to which she doesn't respond immediately, to which he gets really curious and says, "Well, question mark. So this is a perfect example of a curiosity embedded text. We used to, our top curiosity embedded text, just to kind of go back in time, used to be a text message we would recommend to people, and I'm pretty sure even on this YouTube video you can find me recommending it. Do not do it now, which is the "I have a confession to make" text. By simply texting "I have a confession to make," your ex's mind goes crazy with all sorts of curious possibilities. The problem with this text message is we found that it led exes to think negatively about you as opposed to positively about you. So just by focusing more on the curiosity elements, you tend to get better results after a no contact rule. The important other thing that is not really talked about a lot here is you're sending this text message after you haven't really talked to them at all in 30 days or so. So your ex is usually on edge for whatever this could be about, and the curiosity text kind of plays to that fear a little bit. Element number 3, damsel in distress. Now, an example of a damsel in distress text message is, I have a question and I only really trust you for the answer. To which the ex says, well, fire away. Need glasses for shooting. Any best type? To which the ex inquires more. Do you need any prescription glasses? Yes, mostly for the right eye. Ah, you have a dilemma. And then he goes on to explain what the dilemma is, and they end up in a conversation. So how does this work? Well, the damsel in distress text message is essentially where you act as a damsel in distress. You need help on something, and your ex is the primary person that would provide this help to you. Now, it works really, really well if you can embed an element of curiosity. So the element of curiosity in this text is, I have a problem and I only really trust you for an answer. So the added curiosity embedded into that initial text message is pretty obvious. It's your ex literally looking at you like a damsel in distress, but also wondering what potentially could be the problem that she's having. This creates enough interest to sort of engage you, and then you kind of get into a conversation back and forth off of this. Now, ideally, you want this to flow really smoothly where your ex, you're giving them kind of the stage to show off. And what I mean by that is if you can allow them to show off their knowledge of helping you, it makes them not only feel good about themselves, but also sort of makes them feel good about saving you, and it can kind of lead to these very subtle feelings. And this is the key to the damsel in distress text message. Now, without a doubt, this was the #1 type of text message that was used amongst all of the people that sent text messages successfully. So if you can find a way to embed this damsel in distress element into your first contact text message after the no contact rule, you tend to be very successful. And finally, element number 4, interest-based. Now, an example of an interest-based text is, I need your expertise. On what? I'm having a debate at work. In your opinion, who's more likely to win the OU versus Texas Tech game? To which the ex says, OU, of course. Texas Tech is without their starting QB for a month. I don't think they have the firepower to contend for 4 quarters. Cool. Thanks for the ammunition. Gotta run to a meeting. Talk to you later. Okay, talk to you later. Good luck. This is without a doubt, maybe the best text message of the bunch because we got the entire conversation, so you get to see the entire context going on here. Now, it starts off with a pretty obvious damsel in distress type text. Hey, I need your expertise on something, or I need your help on something. And this damsel in distress text only really works with that element of embedded curiosity, but immediately our client engages her ex in his knowledge and his interest, something that he's really passionate about and she's not so passionate about. And the beauty of the damsel in distress aspect is this can be your damsel in distress. You don't know much about this, but you have money riding on the line at work or something, right? And it gives him a chance to show off his knowledge, and then she abruptly ends the conversation when it's sort of getting going. And it leaves the ex sort of like, wow, I can't believe that just happened. It's kind of like a hit and run. Now, this is the first type of conversation after the no contact rule, but I want you to notice how many elements are embedded in this conversation. The first one is obviously a curiosity, damsel in distress based one. I need your expertise on something. The second one is an interest-based one. She's asking him about football. He knows about football. She doesn't know about football. And then finally, the mere fact that she's reaching out to him with a damsel in distress text message, in this case, I think works as a perfect pattern interrupt. So this is maybe the perfect example of someone who used all of the 4 crucial elements to ensure that their first conversation after no contact was successful.